Okay, hello people. So I'm here relaxing and I just got back from some errands. So how do you go from homeless to getting a place? I feel that there are a lot more homeless people right now than ever before. Homelessness is a big issue. It's not just here's some food and here you go. It's not. It is huge, and I feel like there is a lot of stigmatized thoughts on it. You know, if somebody doesn't want like a box of food because they can't cook, does not mean that they are like, people who won't take food or they won't take a handout because they're too good for themselves or too good, they think of themselves too highly. It is truly a difficult situation. Like, I've been at the pantries where people really need to watch which foods they're taking because they're living like in the woods and they don't have a stove, or they have a stove but they can only carry so much, and it is a huge problem. And I think of Jesus was like a homeless in a sense. He had no place to lay his head. And when we are good to people who have nothing in this world, this pleases God. And I'm not talking about people who take advantage of things, like completely, but yet, you know, go ahead and let them take advantage of you too, also, because people do need a lot of help. Jesus also said if someone slaps you on the right cheek, um, offer him the left too, one of those cheeks. Anyways, I'm not good at really like quoting things all the time, but the point is, you know, there are people who really do need help. And if they're using you, I mean, it's not always our place to judge and say, well, they're just looking for a handout and I shouldn't help them. Because I think we've all done this. If we're honest, I think we've all had a handout in one way or another. We haven't always earned everything, we haven't always gotten everything we deserve. And I just think basic humanity would be you try to help people. And as far as the help out there are resources. Like today, I actually, CAP New Hampshire has been one of the biggest resources to help people. They will not only pay for your hotel, they will pay for your first month's security deposit, they will pay for your first month's rent. Do I feel like I'm a bum taking this? Not at all. I have worked really hard all my life. It's not my fault that the economy is like this. It's not my fault landlords are kicking people out and leaving them homeless because they're greedy. If we want to blame people for being homeless, let's look at people who are greedy, landlords. That's where I say most of the blame is right now. I went and looked at an apartment, or filled out an application today for an apartment, and the guy who I talked with, who is managing some of these buildings, said this is happening everywhere. Everywhere people are getting kicked out, no fault of their own. Landlords want the top dollar for what they have, and they have a right to do that, but they shouldn't be treating people as if they're not human. They should be trying to also work with people and realize that, they are also going to be burned by this. They're not always going to be able to make top dollar. You have a conscience to live with. If you have basic decent tenants who are paying you rent, and this is a time of COVID too, and even if they've fallen behind because they've lost work, you need to really work with people and treat them like they're human and not step on people so you can climb the ladder, because that will bite you down the road. So there is a big homeless problem right now, and it's happening to basic people who work hard, and they are trying to do what they can. And even if you have $6,000-7,000 in the bank, you still are going to struggle to find availability. It's still a problem. So I guess what I'm trying to say is something that I did to help today is I went and I applied for this place. I took the help, and that these people have worked with CAP New Hampshire, whereas other people won't take CAP New Hampshire. And so they're familiar with them. There's no lease, which is great. You can, every month they have some rules. But if you really need housing, be willing to go down to apartments that are pretty basic. And then later on, once you reestablish, your living record, then you can, your address and everything, then you can go back up. But be willing to go down. And I recently was listening to people who feel like, we should not, there's enough resources out there. No, there's not. There's not. If you look at it, there is not enough resources to help the homeless. We have food pantries, obviously, but food does not take care of the big picture. It doesn't. You can give someone tons of groceries and it's still not going to help. You need to be able to get in there. You need to be able to help with the actual, temporary housing first. Luckily for us, we have the hotels. And then you need to be able to help with long term, to make sure that not only do they have a security deposit and the rent, but they have work. This is affecting businesses too, where I have known a situation where this company wanted to keep somebody because he's such a hard worker, but because of housing, he isn't going to stay at this company. It affects everyone. So there's not a snobbery to it. It's not we pay our bills and we have a home and you don't because you did something wrong, or even a lack of compassion to say, you know what, this is really sad. I heard a pastor's wife say this, but we have given you a box of food and you don't want that. There is a sense of, I remember giving somebody once some peanuts and the guy didn't want it. I don't know why. I don't know if he didn't have a drink with it or what, but I was just trying to help him. And there is a little bit of that, but for the most part, homelessness is something that needs to be, people really need to be sensitive to it, because it's not just, like I said, it's food, it's the thinking, it's how you deal with your money, it's the things that have happened in life to people. A lot of people have had one trial after another, and when they're down and you're kicking that dog, so to say, when they're down, you keep on kicking them, or they're at a job that they lost for no fault of their own. That is not a reason to look down or be a little condescending to homeless people. It can happen to anyone. I heard of another lady who they didn't even do anything wrong. The owner put the place up for auction. They had 2 weeks to leave. When you are in this situation and you're meeting people at this level, you get to know. You get to know and you get to see, it's not the homeless that are the problem. It's the corporations that are full of greed. It's the people who don't want to act humane and not help another person out. And I think, Jesus talks about too, when we are kind to the poor and we are good to them, you're doing it for him. And I came from a home where I had a lot of materialistic stuff. I didn't worry at all about the next meal on the table. I have enjoyed both sides of life, from a very generous side of life to actually being willing to put my principles out there and go without, so that I could live a life that I want and stay home and raise my kids and do what I want with my life and be willing to go without some things. So I've seen both sides of the table, and I think Jesus would be looking at the people who don't have a heart for the homeless and be condemning them and the hypocrites in the church, and the hypocrites in the hypocrisy in people's hearts, where they don't want to be willing to help people. And there is like Section 8, and that is a long waiting list. There's families in transition. That is depending on your situation, the vulnerability that's there. There is a waiting list for shelters. There's a 3 to 5 year wait, which I shared in another video, for some apartments, a 10-year wait for other apartments. And it's just here in this state, it's just the way it is, and people are, it seems like, buying up houses and taking homes away, and the whole system is kind of being tweaked. And I will just say that, really don't judge unless you're in someone else's shoes. Don't judge, because you don't know what that person has gone through to be homeless. And so I think the communication needs to be there to help people who are homeless talk about things that have happened and be able to help people with whatever trauma or traumatic situations they've been through. Find out why they've been homeless. It's not just giving out a gas card or money for the laundromat, which is all great. We do all those kinds of things. But get in there and really help people. And I think what this is going to come down to is committing to people and being willing to get them through and get them all the help they need to succeed in life. And so that's my take today. And again, if it wasn't for some of these people who are willing to take CAP New Hampshire, before I head out of state, I don't know where that help would come from. There's also a program trying to get people out from underneath the bridges. It's a tough situation right now all around.